Oh, that is shiny. Look at the shininess! Oh my goodness. That's blooming lovely, isn't it? I'm gonna like RoboCop. These look like RoboCop's pants. Check out my shiny metal pants. Was that a good RoboCop impression? Nope. Moving on. Thanks to Ranvoo for sponsoring today's video and for sending me their Ranvoo AICE Lite. This is not a neck fan, and I can't stress that enough. This is a portable air conditioning unit. It uses thermoelectric cooling in a similar way to the fridge in your house, but on a much smaller scale. It uses something called the Peltier effect, where it takes heat from one side of the device and spits it out of the other, and it keeps doing this until the cold side is really bloody cold. And again, I can't stress this enough, this isn't just my opinion, it's not like a little bit cold, it is uncomfortably cold on its lowest setting. That is quite impressive. So the thing is, right, this isn't even in full contact with a metal plate because obviously this is a flat square and this is rounded for your neck. And it still managed to drop quite significantly from 25 point something down to 23.7. And this is an ambient temperature sensor as well. That's the other thing you have to remember, is this thing is trying to measure the ambient temperature of the room, not just the thing it's pressed up against, and it is boiling hot in here. And this was more surprising than discovering myself at Eurovision. It's killing me slow! It is me. All last week, the weather... Forget about all that, we'll talk about that in another episode. All last week, the weather was insanely hot. And I should have taken the opportunity to review this week's product. And instead, I just wandered around sweating buckets. This week rolls around, and the weatherman is like, today's forecast overall for the country, bland. Tomorrow's forecast, however, bland. I reviewed their previous model last year, and £300, a great many of you kind of shuffled around a shiny tuppence in the palm of your hand, along with a paperclip and a couple of bits of lint, and politely told me to f*** off. Now, I'm not saying you weren't right to do so. £300 for something that some guy on YouTube told you was good is an awful lot of money to spend. This thing is almost half the price, with almost all of... The sun's out! I didn't recognise it at first, as an Englishman, but that is the sun, and it's hot. I feel cold. And I've just ran up the most ridiculous steps on earth to get to this field before the sun goes in because I live in England. From a comfort perspective, this feels great. I would barely know it was there if it wasn't for the fact that my neck is ice cold. This is fantastic because it is just as good as last year's model so far. And so, I guess I'm so out of breath. Traipsing around the countryside is not what this thing is for. It does a great job of that. What it's for is right here. It's for in the office, when you work with other people that won't let you turn the aircon on and you're boiling hot. It's when you go to hospital, and the hospital never gets it right. I hate the hospital, it's hotter than the sun.
Hotter than the sun!
It's for people who have medical conditions. It's for people that are going through the change. It's for anybody that needs to be cooled down in a place where they can't otherwise do so. Let's have a look at its app. Did I mention it has an app? It has an app. So, safety manual, what's it gonna do? What in the high-tech bomb collars is this? So first things first, there was no setup process, which is actually kind of ingenious. You press the button and the thing gets found. That's amazing. That's really cool. I don't know if that means that other people would be able to control your thing if they had the Motora app, but what's the likelihood of them having it and following you around? So we've got heating and cooling, I should point out. You can change all the things. I'm filming this entirely on the fly, by the way. So yeah, it gets uncomfortably hot. If I hadn't said that already, it gets uncomfortably hot at its highest setting and uncomfortably cold at its coldest setting. So it really is just like aircon. You've got heating, cooling, you can change the wind speed, and you can do all of this on the actual device too. With the up and down buttons, you just kind of hold it down to adjust temperature or press it to adjust wind speed, and you hold the power button down to change between the different modes. You've also got AI mode because, you know, God forbid the tech industry goes 2 minutes without mentioning artificial intelligence.
We're not gonna sit in silence. We're not gonna live with fear.
You've got things like hot packs and silent modes and other such things. Really, I don't think I'll ever use this because the device itself is too good. You don't really need this, in my opinion. But it is there if you want to feel like a total nerd. So what more do you need to know about this thing? Here is Paul from the other side of the room to explain. Thanks, Paul from the other side of the room. Here's Paul from the previous episode. The part of your brain What? I'm doing this now. The part of your body responsible for regulating body temperature is in your neck, and this thing is cooling round here very specifically. You can test this theory for yourself. You go get an ice pack from the fridge and you stick it under here, you'll find that your body starts to feel cool very quickly. Your neck also has pulse points in it, similar to your wrists. If you can imagine, if you put something ice cold here on your wrists, your arms start to go cold, and that's because the blood runs closer to the surface of the skin at your pulse points. You have some pulse points right here, and that's why this thing works. I got asked in the previous video whether you could wear this thing in bed, so I thought I would put my DJI mic intentionally in shot, like the 18-year-olds do on TikTok because they're morons, and tell you all about it. It's killing me slow! Oh dear. Already, I have to say, it's great that you can charge it whilst it's in use, so you could use it throughout the night, but the charging cable is sticking in me. So, turn it upside down, see if that's any more comfortable. Ah, there we go, that does work. You do have to kind of wiggle around a bit until you're in the right position, but that is reasonably comfortable. I mean, the heat is dissipating out of these fins either side, so I shouldn't imagine you want to sleep on your side, you'd have to sleep on your back, but the semiconductor triangle at the back that's doing all the cooling gives you like an instant cooling effect all the way around, and the fins are sticking the heat out left and right rather than out into your pillow, so I see no reason this wouldn't work throughout the night. On that note, it has a fast charging and a 24-hour standby time, and my testing lasted about 3 hours on a full blast cooling with full blast wind speed. So not really bad out of a 6,000 milliamp battery, and obviously with you being able to just cable this thing up, you could use it all day in the office. Alright mate, new neck collar. Keeps me cool even though, you know, cutbacks on the Death Star and all that. I wonder what we do here. Twiddle a knob and press a button. Don't really get it. What? Want to go for a beer after this? Nah, it's fine. Back to work, I guess. So yeah, you can wear this all day in the office because it's been ergonomically designed, more science terms, so that it will fit your neck and feel nice and comfortable thanks to this little rubber bit at the back that you can kind of just flex in and out, depending on how big your neck is. So what's wrong with it? Essentially nothing, because they have perfected their previous design by reducing the number of things that it does. You don't really need it to do. Here is a list of those things. First of all, there's no more touchscreen. There's no more speakers, or microphones, or heart rate monitors, or blood oxygen level measurements, or step counters, or 5-day weather forecasts. There's no stand, and there's no carry case. To me, this is a good thing. I don't think the AICE3 really needed all those things, but it still exists. You can still buy that if that's what you want. But they listened to everything that you guys had to say, which was, we don't really want all that stuff, I'd rather it was just cheaper, and they made exactly that. This is a really cool device. Forgive the pun. It does everything I would want it to do because all I want to do is stay cool when it's too hot and get hotter when it's too cool. It really is that simple, and that's what this device does. One thing I have found having lain here for a while is that it isn't cooling as effectively, and I think that's because it's having a more difficult job dissipating the heat. You'll notice I've put the fans on, and that's because I found that when I put the fans on, it went back to cooling just fine. This is worth noting if you're going to use it to sleep, because you're going to need fan noise running all the time in order for it to keep you cool. That's fine by me. I personally like a fan. It's alright. Buy one. Seriously, buy one. Why wouldn't you want one of these things in your life? I know it's expensive still. I'm not saying £160 is cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but this is one of those get what you pay for things. If you want to be able to have personalised aircon, it isn't going to be cheap because there is a lot of technology going into it. This episode was brought to you by these incredible people. There are links in the description, by the way, in case you want to pick one of these up, and I strongly advise you do. These are my patrons from Patreon, and without them, seriously, I would be working in a call centre. I'm thanking one every week, and this week it is SnowCrash55, because simply, they messaged me the other day to say, well done, I really like your stuff, and those sorts of messages are what keep me going. Really, really appreciate it. If you want to be just like SnowCrash55 or these guys, you can do that at either Patreon or buy me a one-off beer at PayPal, and either way, I would genuinely love you forever. These are my Facebooks and my X's and my Threads and my Instagrams and my TikToks. Come and hang out there and we can be best friends. See you next time. I forgot what I'm doing.